Well, we managed to squeeze out a decent day for the last day of the holiday weekend, and now we look ahead to showery rains for the middle part of this week. Little bit of the curse of the onshore flow that will be in play. Showers, thunderstorms, severe weather, and flash flooding going on across a good part of the South from New Mexico east into Alabama. We'll take a look at the radars from there, and we'll talk about the rest of the week and maybe take a peek at the weekend. And that is all tonight on this Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Which, if you can support, or if you'd like to support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, you can do it where it doesn't cost you a dime. Just shop on Amazon using our referral link and just use the search bar, get whatever it is you're going to get. And Amazon throws us back a little bit of coin for sending you there. It's an easy, simple way. And it keeps the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast free of ads while we are on live. I think we're the only weather podcast that I know of that does a live show.
Well, we do say that we're eclectic as compared to other weather podcasts that are available on social media.
That's correct. We have a way with things, in a matter of speaking. So, looks like you had an okay day today by you.
I tell you, I was a lot nicer than I had figured. I said to myself around 10 o'clock when I began to see the cumulus pop up, I said, well, here we go, because my assumption was going to be that we would have, broken to even overcast skies by mid or late afternoon, but it never really got that way. Now, we did get reports of some light showers and sprinkles over parts of Ulster County and Sussex County and northwest Jersey or whatever, which was expected, but again, it really was not as extensive as what I was anticipating yesterday. So it turned out to be a beautiful day out there today for Memorial Day observances. I was at the one in Putnam Valley here at 11 o'clock this morning, and it always is a very emotional ceremony to participate in that, and realize, Joe, all the people, all the men and women who, in some cases, gave up their lives to allow us to have democracy and liberty in this great country of ours.
Yes, and hopefully everybody took a moment today. I didn't see. I know I have a pet peeve about the fact when people say Happy Memorial Day. It is not that kind of not that kind of a holiday.
Well, absolutely. Unfortunately, there was one person in particular who led off with that and then went on his way with other commentary, which I personally feel that we could have done without. But anyway, that's as close I'm going to come to a statement today on that.
Well, I'm glad you came close and didn't go over the edge.
Yes.
Okay. We have the first of the onshore flow again for you around for Wednesday into the first part of Thursday, maybe. But it's a small curse. It's not going to last very long. And I don't know, Wednesday could be a bit of an upside down day because it may take a little longer for clouds to move up, say, into southern New England and points northward. So the temperatures there, because there might even be a little bit of sun early on, could make a run for 70. But in the meantime, if you're basically from New Jersey on south, you could be in the 60s and maybe even in the upper 50s and low 60s once it starts raining.
And excuse me, we talked about the possibility this weekend, perhaps on Saturday, seeing some convection, and that's going to be due probably more to an upper level system, a pool of unseasonably cool air that will be invading the Northeast for next weekend, and maybe enough to produce, at least from this vantage point, Joe, maybe some low top thunderstorm activity for the start of next weekend on Saturday. But before that happens, we have to deal with a system that will be moving in our direction. We'll be caught in kind of a widespread overrunning pattern from late Wednesday into Thursday. We'll have an onshore flow. We'll have a storm to our south. We'll have another one over the Great Lakes. And that could provide us with a period of wet, rainy weather here for kind of the antithesis of the kind of day that we had out there today. That would be for Thursday. Things try to clear out on Friday, and then again, that pool of unstable and chilly air begins to arrive and move in and over us for Saturday.
But tomorrow looks okay.
Yes.
Yeah, but for you, tomorrow looks okay. We actually just had a downpour go by. It seems to have ended because I'm not hearing the softballs banging against the baseballs banging against my roof. But there's probably more rain coming here later tonight, and there's another. It's another day of clouds here in North Georgia with temperatures that didn't had a tough time getting much above the low 70s, and it only got there because around I don't know maybe two o'clock till about 4 o'clock the sun came out. So anytime the sun comes out, especially here, but this time of year in general, it can boost temperatures rather quickly. Because we were down in the upper 50s this morning and kind of stayed there for until about 11 o'clock or so before temperatures started to nudge up a bit. But we've got some more rain coming, and there's some severe weather going on tonight, so we're going to check it all out. Welcome tonight to everybody on the chat board. Just a reminder, tomorrow night there will be no Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. I've got some stuff going on tomorrow, but we'll be back on Wednesday at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. And normally we're here Sunday through Thursday at 7:35. Welcome to those of you who are watching in the background and lurking. And we invite you to join the conversation if you like. Most of the people on the chat board don't bite, and Joe and I usually don't either unless we haven't had dinner and we're doing the show. So subscribe, turn your notifications on so you don't miss us. And of course, if you like the show, hit the like button. All the action right now, some of this moisture that's down in the south right now is going to be eventually heading up to the northeast. But we've got, it's a little less widespread than yesterday, but we still have severe thunderstorm watches up in eastern New Mexico and northwest Texas, central and south central Texas generally under tornado watches, and even some tornado warnings are popping up here and there. Flash flood watches for northeast Texas, across northern Louisiana, the southern counties of Arkansas, and into western Mississippi. And then you've got a waning severe thunderstorm watch box up from the southern half of Alabama down to the coast of Mississippi. Otherwise, most of the rest of the country is quiet. The red that you see in interior California is an excessive heat watch that is up for them. And at least for the time being, in spite of the fact that if you look at the Central Rockies, Mr. Rayo, and across the Deep South and into the Mid-Atlantic states, everything was moving west to east yesterday. It's still moving west to east, at least for now. But the Northeast, now that upper trough is kind of pulled toward, it's kind of this east-west trough, and the upper low with it is now moved to Newfoundland. The atmosphere has become more stable across the Northeast. Again, you said there were a couple of showers that did pop up, and I could even see some lightning flashes going on in upstate New York from earlier. But definitely a much more stable environment in the Northeast and northern Mid-Atlantic states that developed today. And it should hold on for at least part of Tuesday before some of this high cloudiness that's streaming through Illinois and Indiana and into Ohio starts to move on in.
Well, the wet weather is going to try to get a foothold tomorrow into the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. But while there may be, at least according to WPC, a marginal risk of excessive rainfall across a good part of Virginia, West Virginia, southwestern Pennsylvania, and even a slight risk for excessive rain for portions of West Virginia and eastern Kentucky. And that's the last thing those people in eastern Kentucky need is more rain and even a slight chance of excessive rainfall. There's also more rain expected to fall over the Southland, as you pointed out, Joe, generally from a slice of eastern Louisiana, southern sections of Mississippi, much of Alabama, a good part of Georgia, just here south is where the slight risk is, and also a slice I guess, along the coastal plain of South Carolina and extreme southern North Carolina, a slight risk of significant rainfall or excessive rainfall tomorrow. Interestingly, while all that is happening across a broad area of the South, from central Texas all the way over to Georgia and into the Carolinas, the Florida Peninsula is completely out or free of any threat of any excessive rainfall tomorrow. They not saying that they're going to be dry. There will be a few hit or miss showers, of course, across Florida. But I mean, in terms of the really heavy artillery, that apparently is going to stay north of the peninsula, as I said, across portions of Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. So those folks will get wet, and it'll be a lot drier either to the south across Florida and up in the northeast. Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, much of Pennsylvania, save for the southwestern part of the state, and New York and New England, all will be dry tomorrow with no threat of any excessive rain activity. We'll wait until, as you pointed out earlier, Joe, later Wednesday and especially into Thursday for the rains to arrive here in the northeastern part of the country.
I put a little smiley face over that while you were talking. Um, here's an area I'm kind of watching right now. You see the lightning strikes in southern Mississippi and Alabama. Those are kind of sliding northeastward. So if they hold together, it means more rain. I picked up since when we were on last night was right at the time that the thunderstorm started, and I picked up over that and into this morning. I picked up 3/4 of an inch of rain, so that was good because it kept me from having to go out doing my own watering. And this relatively wet pattern is going to continue for another day or two. But eventually, some of the showery rainfall and this moisture is going to move to the northeast because now that the upper trough is pulled away off of Newfoundland and moving eastward, it's opening the door for that moisture to start to move northward rather than getting pinned. In the meantime, just a few scattered showers, and maybe way up in upstate New York, north of around Plattsburgh, maybe a rumble or two of thunder there. But you can see it's just sort of popcorny in parts of the New York State and into Massachusetts and Connecticut. We have some light rain in northern North Carolina, southern Virginia, sliding eastward. And then further south, we've got some patchy areas of showers and storms in central and south Georgia, also along the Florida East Coast in a few areas. And then this area that you see in Alabama now, moving out of Mississippi with a line of storms and a few severe thunderstorm warnings. That is, again, moving, looks like it's moving mostly east, northeast, or northeast. So, again, I'm hoping that we get into some of that rain here overnight. It's very busy, severe weather-wise, back in central Texas and around the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We're seeing a severe thunderstorm and flash flood warnings that are popping up right now. And then also well north and west of San Antonio, we're seeing a bunch of severe thunderstorm, flash flood, and even a tornado warning that has popped up there, as well as in eastern New Mexico and on up into northwest Texas. Plain old rain from northwest Missouri on up into Iowa and Nebraska, also in areas of western Tennessee into western Kentucky and southern Illinois, and a little bit of patchy action in the northern Rockies, and then down southward into the Wasatch and in parts of Nevada. The west coast is pretty much quiet up and down. There's the Storm Prediction Center. Joe told you what tonight is looking like. Here's tomorrow. They've added a slight risk now for southern Mississippi and Alabama into southwest and up into central Georgia. I am like right on the edge of that marginal risk. Another slight risk area in south and west and southwest Texas. Tornado risks tomorrow are confined to the Texas slight risk, where we've got a 2% chance there. Day 3, eastern New Mexico and West Texas in a slight risk. Everybody else in a marginal risk. General thunderstorms, Joe, on Wednesday gets to southern New Jersey and central Pennsylvania, but no further north than that. And this would be effective from 8 a.m. Wednesday to 8 a.m. Thursday.
Okay, well, I just mentioned about how Florida is going to be pretty much hazard free, at least tomorrow, in terms of precipitation. Although, as I look at the 8 to 14 day U.S. hazards outlook map from Climate Prediction Center, they do have, just to kind of
Hold
show
on,
you.
hold on. If you're gonna do a map from CPC, one must show it. So
Okay,
you go ahead and show it.
all right, well, it's not much to show, but I will show it. I found it of some interest, is the fact that on the risk of heavy precipitation. Now, I should point out that the risk for hazardous temperatures, zilch, no hazards. Risk for snow, obviously, no hazards. Risk for wind, high winds, zilch. Again, the only hazard that CPC is indicating may happen will be between June 3rd and June 5th. That'll be next week, actually, and that would be for the southern half of Florida. Here is the viewpoint from their perspective. A slight risk from central Florida on south for possible heavy rain or showery rains. Other than that, though, the rest of the country is pretty well out in the clear with no hazards to speak of. And this, again, is the 8 to 14 day period, Joe. So, what they're alluding to is the fact that the weather may be fairly quiet for the upcoming next 1 to 2 weeks. In fact, let me show you the 8 to 14 day outlook in terms of precipitation. And look at this. From June 3rd to June 9th, CPC is indicating here in the northeastern part of the country below normal probabilities for any significant rainfall. And I tell you, after all that we have been through in recent days around here, I know that we've been saying that we needed the rain, but now the drought has pretty well subsided across the region. And so we could use a few days of dry weather, and it looks like that may very well be the case as we make the transition from May into June. So, something to look forward to for next week.
William Jersey Shore says he's never seen it this cool on Memorial Day weekend at the Jersey Shore. My response to that is obviously you haven't lived long enough. Uh, how, I mean, how old are you? I'm just curious as to how old are you? But because it has happened before, and
4 years
apparently,
ago, for God's sake.
yeah, I mean,
No, 5 years ago in 2020. We talked
it
about
does
this last
happen.
night.
It has happened. It will happen. Um, and it'll happen again. So there's nothing unusual here. As we've said many times, by the way, of the three summer. Well, now we have four. I mean, I don't even know if we have three or four, whatever it is. When we have these 3 day weekends, um, we this is the one. The Memorial Day holiday weekend is usually the one that you wind up with the most problems. And you're almost guaranteed to lose at least one of those 3 days weather-wise. It's almost a given that you're going to lose one of those days uh, uh, almost every year. Every once in a great while, in a rare event where you wind up with three really nice, very warm days. But those are very few and very far between.
Very, very far, few and far between. As you just mentioned, Joe, of the three summer holidays, it seems like the one that always gets the short end of the stick is the Memorial Day holiday weekend. Although again, today was about as nice as we usually see for Memorial Day. And all things considered, it turned out to be something that, well, a lot of people I hope had a chance to enjoy.
Yeah. We haven't gotten anywhere close to 90. In fact, we've had very few 80-degree high days here in North Georgia. Uh, if it kind of makes sense is when you have a blocking pattern like we had last week, that keeps things cooler than normal, usually all the way up and down the East Coast. WPC has got several inches of rain being indicated from much of central and south Texas, across Louisiana, southern Mississippi and Alabama, and into Georgia. The inch and a half pushes up on the west side of the Appalachians into eastern Kentucky. You've got a half-inch line. They haven't really changed it very much, although they did shrink the quarter of an inch that they had from New York City north and east, because now they've added a half-inch amounts through upstate New York and through much of New England, and some three-quarters of an inch to an inch amount up in Maine and in New Brunswick. Further south into Virginia, it's about an inch to an inch and a half. Same goes for North Carolina. Central and South Florida showing some heavier rains of several inches. Now, I wonder because the models have been kind of showing some sort of disturbance coming out of the Northwest Caribbean and heading northward. So I wonder that if that's what WPC and what CPC are looking at as far as their um, you know outlooks for the state of for Central and South Florida.
Well, so far, and to say this is very, very early in the ball game, but so far we haven't really seen all that much in the tropics, and hurricane season officially will begin on Sunday of this upcoming weekend, and we'll see how that all pans out. By the way, you know what happens, Joe, when any month starts on the first day of the month comes on a Sunday.
No, what happens?
There is a Friday the 13th, and
Oh,
that
okay. So there is a Friday the 13th.
it will
Gotcha.
be in June. Yeah.
All right. Well, here's what the upper trough in the east is doing is we still was hanging around to some degree today, but pulling out now tonight. And of course, there's one right behind it, and you can see a little cutoff that forms up in Minnesota and the Dakotas. So that's going to bring that southern moisture up northward for Wednesday and Thursday. And there is going to be a bit of an onshore flow to deal with. That upper low, the new one, kind of takes its time moving eastward, sort of gets stretched out like a piece of taffy from the St. Lawrence Valley down into Missouri and Kansas. And then there's another upper low that forms in Labrador that drops down into Hudson Bay that eventually merges with the southern part of that trough. And this is for Friday into Saturday. And with the energy swinging up the coast like it is, there's probably going to be some kind of coastal low that's going to develop with this. And then you got all that energy piling down from the north. So more than likely, it's going to bring in probably some rain, or maybe even, as you said, would get that upper trough to swing through some low top thunderstorms. And the trough in the east hangs through the weekend. It lifts out next week, where we actually get into more of a westerly or west southwest flow for the week that starts on Monday, June 2nd, but really from Tuesday on. So I think that'll probably mean for some warmer temperatures, but it's also a drier setup. I'm also looking here where the model is forming a little cutoff there in the Gulf of Mexico. And again, I wonder whether that's why we're seeing the models, the forecasts, the longer range forecast kind of tiling into the idea of some moisture moving into South Florida. Another upper low drops down into the west later next week and or the middle part of next week anyway. But trough in the east doesn't really come back until the end of the forecast period. So we'll probably see some temperatures warming up to near or maybe even a little bit above normal once we get through uh, this mess for this coming weekend. And as we check out what it's doing on the surface here with the European, this was off the 12Z run. You can see I'll roll it back. Uh, tonight, nothing, of course. You got this high up near Lake Superior that's going to, part of it's going to stay up there. The other part's off the New Jersey coast late in the day tomorrow. And then we get into a east to southeast wind Tuesday night and Wednesday. That southern moisture comes up. Showery rains when they get in here. I don't think they're going to be continuous. And, it may take a good part of the day for that rain to get up to about New York City and the Hudson Valley into Wednesday night and Thursday. And then that pulls away, maybe a thunderstorm later Thursday afternoon, we'll see. And then that pulls away. And now, as we said, with that southern energy and northern energy coming down, you can see there's a low that forms there in North Carolina and then rides up the coast Friday night into Saturday morning with some rain. And then we get the upper trough to swing through. And then it should dry out behind it for Sunday. And then again, it looks tamer and warmer for next week but with nothing major going on, which will be good. And I just want to check here, after we get through the weekend, see if the European today, it kind of shows something, some moisture that comes out of the Caribbean. When we get to about next Tuesday, the third and fourth, it pushes that moisture. It's a little bit further to the west, but it doesn't really do anything. It's not like it's forming any kind of low there, like it did on a couple of runs over the weekend. And if we want to just have a little bit of a laugh with the GFS, there's a GFS idea with the rain coming up Wednesday night into Thursday, so it matches up with the European. And it's got another low in Ohio and West Virginia. It jumps over to Delaware on Friday night. So it kind of looks like the European, only it's a little bit faster. And then it brings through a trough with maybe the chance for some low top thunderstorms on Saturday, and then it tries to dry things out on Sunday without much success. So I've kind of been sticking with the Europeans idea. It seems to be it continues to be the case. I think that the European model is doing so much better right now than the GFS is. So until further notice, we'll just probably stick with that in terms of how the trends are going.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm wondering just how old William Jersey Shore is too, because somebody made the comment on the chat board about how the waters off of the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast are running a bit colder than normal. Touched upon this last week. I think we
Yeah,
even
a lot
heard
colder.
about this on we were talking about this on the Legends show that we're affiliated with, and the question was, is the uh, is the Gulf Stream running chillier or colder than normal? And then William Jersey Shore said, what is that, Chuck? And then he added, don't you mean the Gulf of America? And obviously William Jersey
No, they
Shore,
haven't renamed the Gulf Stream yet, William Jersey Shore. I asked you before how old you were. I didn't see what your answer was, but I'm guessing you're probably in your 20s. But that's just me. Um, Gen Z, Joe. Gen Z.
well, anyway.
All right.
So we'll call it a night now. I guess we won't have Brother Jeopardy tonight. We'll call it a night now. You got a long day coming up, I know, for tomorrow, which is why we don't have a show tomorrow night. And we'll be back on Wednesday at 7:35.
Yes, we will. We'll be back Wednesday at 7:35, and yeah, no show for tomorrow. So everybody have a great night, and we'll see you on Wednesday. Okay? Take care.
Have a good one.